Jamie Dimon, the head of JPMorgan Chase, JPMorgan Chase, one of the instrumental banks in tanking the global financial system in 2008, 2009. Steve, contrary to the myth, a lot of people still haven't recovered from that over a decade later. Jamie Dimon is in a bit of a battle royale right now with shareholders of JPMorgan Chase because those shareholders, I don't know, maybe they woke up on the wrong side of the bed, have a conscience. JP Morgan investors hand Jamie Dimon a rare rebuke with disapproval of his $52.6 million bonus. Just 31% of investors participating in the New York-based bank's annual shareholder meeting voted in support of a $52 million award that was part of Dimon's 2021 compensation package. The bonus, in the form of 1.5 million options that Dimon can exercise in 2026, was designed to keep the CEO and chairman at the helm for another 5 years. While the result of the so-called, quote, say on pay vote are non-binding, meaning he's still going to collect his bonus, JP Morgan's board said it takes investors' feedback seriously and intended Dimon's bonus to be a one-time event, according to the company spokesperson. Before I get your thoughts, I just want to take a trip down memory lane. Here's Jamie Dimon on the tyranny of socialism.
Becky had mentioned this piece that you just wrote in Time magazine, and we wanted to ask you about it. It refers specifically to what seems like you poll young people about the world, the word capitalism, and they may be on the socialist side of things.
I don't think they understand. Honestly, I don't think people understand what socialism is. Socialism is when the government controls companies. There is no example where the government controls companies, they do it well, and they don't start to use it for votes, satisfying people. They don't even want competition, because if we're two government companies, why have competition? They do it for jobs and votes. They have bad allocation of capital. Most state-owned enterprises don't do a particularly good job. Just take a look around the world, and they become corrupt over time. That does not mean that capitalism is perfect. It doesn't mean that every public company is perfect. No, there are flaws.
Do you think that Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren are socialists in the construct that you talked about it, or in the construct of this idea of a democratic socialist, which is something that may feel more European in some ways?
I don't want to talk about any particular people. But if you're talking about governments controlling corporations, that's socialism. You can do it in a small way, or you can do it in a big way. The small way is to put a commissar on your board. Remember the old Russian commissars? That's all. They're just going to sit in the room. Or do it through regulatory or stuff like that. The other way is that they actually own the company. And that's where, if you look at all these other countries, they start to take over the oil companies and the steel companies and the utility companies
and the banks.
And the banks, and then the banks start making loans not to a good company, not because they're properly allocating capital to its highest and best use, but to keep that factory open, the bridge to nowhere, to make sure the mayor doesn't lose jobs in his town. And once you do that, you will have an eroding society.
So, Steve, we are very concerned, eroding society and all that jazz. I just want to air, so viewers might not know this, great reporting from The Nation. Let's see, because it seems like JP Morgan might have deployed a little socialism once upon a time. Let's take a look here. This is from The Nation. The old joke, how do you make a killing on Wall Street and never risk a loss? Easy. Use other people's money. Jamie Dimon and his underlings at JP Morgan Chase have perfected this dark art at America's largest bank, which boasts a balance sheet 1/8 the size of the entire U.S. economy. After JP Morgan's deceitful activities in the housing market helped trigger the 2008 financial crash that cost millions of Americans their jobs, homes, and life savings, punishment was in order. Among a vast array of misconduct, JP Morgan engaged in the routine use of robo-signing, which allowed bank employees to automatically sign hundreds, even thousands, of foreclosure documents per day without verifying their contents. But in the United States, white-collar criminals rarely go to prison. Instead, they negotiate settlements. Thus, on February 9th, 2012, Attorney General Eric Holder announced the national mortgage settlement, which fined JP Morgan Chase and 4 other mega banks a total of $25 billion. JP Morgan's share of the settlement was $5.3 billion, but only $1.1 billion had to be cashed in. The other $4.2 billion was to come in the form of financial relief for homeowners in danger of losing their homes to foreclosure. The settlement called for JP Morgan to reduce the amounts owed, modify the loan terms, and take other steps to help distressed Americans keep their homes. A separate 2013 settlement against the bank for deceiving mortgage investors included another $4 billion in consumer relief. Here's the good stuff. A Nation investigation can now reveal JPMorgan met part of its $8.2 billion settlement burden by using other people's money. Here's how the alleged scam worked. JPMorgan moved to forgive the mortgage of tens of thousands of homeowners. The feds, in turn, credited these canceled loans against the penalties due under the 2012 and 2013 settlements. But here's the rub. In many instances, JPMorgan was forgiving loans it no longer owned. The alleged fraud is described in internal JPMorgan documents, public records, testimony from homeowners and investors burned in the scam, and other evidence presented in a blockbuster lawsuit against JPMorgan, now being heard in U.S. District Court. Steve, I don't know, what do they call using other people's money?
Well, theft in this case, because it's not socialism. That's the thing. They have perverted the word socialism so much. You've hit on something very important, and this is the elite control fraud that always goes unspoken of, always ignored. And this is the makings of a great docuseries out there called The Con. It's also The Big Short, and it's also still going on to this day. We have still got the same exact corruption that is going on that you see JP Morgan and more importantly, Jamie Dimon benefiting from. And it's going to continue happening. This is why so much of the idea of a progressive Green New Deal is contingent on us eradicating corruption for a clean New Deal. And so this idea of socialism, first of all, socialism is owning the means of production. It is a level, it's a spectrum, if you will, of who owns the means of production. There's very rarely a fully socialist country out there. There hasn't been that kind of fully run socialist country maybe ever. So they're conflating a lot of things with government services and so forth as socialism. But Jamie Dimon in particular is one of the most corrupt bastards on the planet. And the revolving door between the White House and regulation and the lack of, auditory and the ability to rein in corruption on Wall Street, it's like attacking a ginormous, David and Goliath story minus the rock. So these guys are running roughshod over all of us. They own government. They literally write the laws. They hand them to unwitting Congress people that don't understand the banking industry, don't understand finance. They don't understand Wall Street. In fact, many of the people out there that run the credit agencies are so corrupt. They know that if they don't give Jamie Dimon what he wants, that they won't be used, and then they will go out of business. So the entire corruption works its way all the way through the apparatus of finance. And until we have enough SAC to really, really enforce laws on the books and to actually pursue and prosecute white-collar crime, we are never going to see the kind of changes that we need. So this idea of socialism, that is a big old red herring, scarecrow of bullshit. It's really just a deflection from showing Jamie Dimon as the criminal that he is, and he needs to be behind bars, not getting a $52 million bonus.
And also, I love in the clip on CNBC where he says socialism is when the government takes control of corporations. No, it's just the opposite way. We have a system where the corporations have taken control of the government, i.e., United Corporations of America. So wait, it's socialism when the government takes over corporations, but it's just, free market when they purchase the government.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it is bad though. It's ridiculous. And if you ever really want to dig into this stuff and learn the history, go back to Ferdinand Pecor. I'm not going to take you down memory lane here, but definitely check out the book Wolf of Wall Street to learn about all the stuff that's gone on. And there's so many good books. David Dayen, Chain of Title, I think it's called. Great book. It's come out not too long ago. And again, I'll refer back to The Con. Bill Black wrote a great book. The best way to rob a bank is to own one, and Dimon proves it on the daily. So definitely we got to purge corruption, or this shit's going to just keep continuing, man. There's no question. And it is not fucking socialism. Excuse my French.
Right. So it's just nauseating. And by the way, just in the context of MMT, which is obviously Steve's forte, literally, people complain about, athletes, basketball players, football players making $30-40 million a year. I'm actually not okay with that either, even though I love, watching a lot of these sports. We literally have people right now without baby formula. We have people right now basically have been on a rolling basis being evicted from their homes in this country. We have people right now rationing insulin. We have people right now basically still during this pandemic having to make choices financially because they have stacks and stacks of bills from COVID treatment that was supposed to be covered. Meanwhile, there's enough money to give Jamie Dimon $52 million bonus after he defrauded the global financial system. I mean, just think of when they say, how are you going to pay for it? How are we paying for this? Who's paying for this? Us, directly and indirectly. This is why when you look at that income inequality chart since the early 1980s, you shouldn't call it income inequality. It's the greatest heist in the world's history. It is stealing our money from the poor, from the working poor, from the industrialists who built this country, and giving it to Jamie Dimon so he could have 24 bidets probably in his multiple mansions. It's grotesque. And you want to know something? Biden, the Republicans, doesn't matter. You want to say Democrats are better on social issues? That's fine. On the economic matters of the day, Obama had a legacy opportunity. There wasn't anyone that was going to challenge him on arresting some bankers, criminal penalties, and he chose to do nothing. Let them get away with murder because people died from the financial crash, both through suicides, homelessness, etc. He chose to let Jamie Dimon and others get away with murder.
Let's go back to the Bill Clinton era. Bill Clinton, when he repealed Glass-Steagall, and then went ahead and did his reinventing government and went ahead and crushed welfare reform and really, really hurt so many single moms, especially women of color. That entire idea of the balanced budget, the surplus that he did as he repealed Glass-Steagall, set the stage for every bad thing that happened under Bush and every bad thing that happened under Obama. It started right there. And the worst part of it, and you can find this out there on the web, easy to find, is a picture of Bill Clinton handing the pen that he signed away Glass-Steagall to none other than Sandy Weill, who is the asshole that was pushing for the repeal of Glass-Steagall, one of the key members that made all the control fraud happen. This is like the 4th or 5th or 10th act of all these different control scams that go back to the savings and loan crisis. If you remember the Keating Five, I mean, this is continuing and continuing. And Jamie Dimon is just out there. He's not even hiding it, man. 52 million bonus for what? For theft? So honestly, I'd love to know his definition of just capitalism, because as I see a man making a $52 million bonus while simultaneously authoring laws that cripple the ability for us to regulate and enforce white-collar crime in the finance sector. This is a man who has singularly been responsible for many, many, many suicides as people have lost homes as a result of his nefarious business practice. So fuck Jamie Dimon, clearly. Straight up, fuck him hard.
Thanks for watching, and make sure to tune in to Status Coup's daily live stream Monday through Thursday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time and Fridays at 4 o'clock Eastern Time.